Concerning the first award, the presenter, the former Chief Judge of the Michigan Probate Courts Association, Doreen Allen, and herself a previous recipient of this award that's going to be presented, has been weatherized today and unable to attend. So we have asked the steadfast Judge Mayfield if she will present the award to the recipient of that award, who is Judge Robert Butts. The award is the Daniel J. Wright Lifetime Achievement Award. And we are very proud to present that award to Judge Butts, who is a worthy recipient and a judge who makes all of us very proud to serve on the judiciary of the state of Michigan. So, Judge Mayfield, can I ask you to take over?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, not Doreen, but it's my pleasure.
You don't have a hat.
No, I don't have that, or the laugh.
The hat.
It's my pleasure, though. So I'm reading the notes that she sent this morning. Thank you, Chief Justice Markman. Today, Midland County woke up to a blizzard with rain and snow coming down and making travel impossible from the far lands of Midland to the Lansing area. I am very disappointed that I will not be able to be there for this very special ceremony. However, the reality is that this would be very dangerous. I hope that Judge Butts is there with his lovely wife, Elaine, and are able to enjoy the wonders of Lansing in the snow. My name is Doreen Allen, and I am the Judge of Probate from Midland County. I am privileged and honored to present this Daniel Wright Award to Judge Robert John Butts, who is a Sheboygan County probate judge and has been so for 18 years now. I go back many years with Judge Butts. We actually practiced law in the same community of Sheboygan many years ago. Fortunately, we got reacquainted when we both were voted onto the probate bench some 18 years ago. Judge Butts was elected in November 2000 and 2006 and ran unopposed in 2012. Judge Butts' father, John Henry Butts, also served as probate judge from 1971 through 1982. To keep this all in the family legacy, his mother, Helen Jean Butts, was court recorder for the court. Judge Butts has been active since being elected to the local and state level in various offices related to the judiciary. He was president of the Sheboygan County Bar Association and president of the Top of Michigan Probate Judges Association. Judge Butts also served on the board and eventually was elected by his judicial peers as president of the Michigan Probate Judges Association. He is the only Sheboygan judge to serve as president of the Michigan Probate Judges Association. Judge Butts has been active in various committees drafting legislation and court rules, which included the Juvenile Competency and the Michigan Indian Child Welfare Act. He currently serves on the State Bar of Michigan Judicial Council, Supreme Court Administrative Office's Court Improvement Program Committee, Trial Court Performance Measure Committee, and Alternative Dispute Resolution Summit. At the local level, he has started and supported many programs for the probate court and in the community. He indicates that this proudest achievement is bringing child protection mediation to the probate court wards and families back in 2001. Most recently, Judge Butts helped draft a court rule which will allow this process to be more easily implemented statewide. Judge Butts was very active locally. A very good example is the fact that he performed over 600 marriages just about anywhere requested. This included marriages on the water, in the back of a ferry boat, and on top of a ski hill. Judge Butts is a graduate of Central Michigan University and Cooley Law. During his tenure as judge, he was very active with the Michigan Probate Judges Association, as I said, eventually becoming president. That is where I had the most contact with Judge Butts. He was relentless in getting the history of the Michigan Probate Judges Association together for all of us. He was the historian for the organization. In a feat not easy to do with over 100 judges, he was able to secure pictures for each of them for a trailblazing directory which will be used and copied for years. As he approaches the end of his final term, he can look back with pride to his contributions to the probate bench, all the lives he has touched as a judge, and the respect and love of his coworkers, staff, and peers. And he has been able to do this lifetime achievement with the unstinting support of his lovely wife, Elaine Couture Butts. She was and is always there for him, no matter the project, securing facilities for MPJA to getting the annual conference just right. When I speak of Judge Butts, it is very appropriate that it comes, again, the background of the Dan Wright Lifetime Achievement Award. Dan Wright was a very good friend of mine. I miss him to this day. But when words like kind, sweet are attributed to Dan, those same words can be attributed to Judge Butts. Champion of children certainly describes Dan Wright in his lifetime. He was instrumental in the development and implementation of Baby Court, which is a part, yet today, of Midland County's special services. As Dan Wright was the champion for children, so too is Judge Butts. So thank you, Judge Butts, for the work and dedication that you have shown while on the bench. Congratulations on your Daniel Wright Lifetime Achievement Award, Judge Doreen S. Allen. Judge Bruce would say, never give me the microphone. So there was one other thing, it's coming up, and Bob and Doreen and I, it's like the class. We were a part of that class. I had been on the bench a year when we went to new judges school and started out. And I've had the opportunity over the years to watch Bob and call, and he's always been there whenever you need anything. And so someone handed this to me, and I will relay it to you, one of the very first adoptions I ever did. 100 years from now, it will not matter what kind of car I drove, what kind of house I lived in, how much money I had in my bank account, nor what my clothes looked like. But the world may be a little better because I was important in the life of a child, and for you, Bob, in the life of so many children. That makes me think of you. Congratulations. And it reads, Daniel J. Wright, Lifetime Achievement Award for exemplary service to Michigan's children and families, presented to Honorable Robert John Butts, November 28th.
Big smile right here for me. Oh, we do one more over there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
supposed to say something.
Judge Butts, would you like to speak at all?
You're supposed to say, Joe.
We just wish you hadn't asked that. Somebody mentioned the buzzer earlier. I hope you don't ring it on me. But I do have a lot of people to thank after being on the bench for 18 years. First of all, I want to thank the Michigan Supreme Court and Department of Health and Human Services, and Nick Lyons here from the Human Services, their director, SCAO Child Welfare Services, and the Michigan Adoption Resource Exchange. They're the ones that sponsor this event, but not just this event. They sponsor all the events throughout the state of Michigan and give us various assistance and also teddy bears. And this year I thought I was coming here with on Adoption Day with families from Sheboygan, but when I offered, would you like to go to Lansing, the Supreme Court, they said no. They didn't want to come this far. And so I had to call Kelly and say, well, email her rather and say, I'm sorry, no one wants to come, we can't make it. But fortunately, I did finalize 4 adoptions in Sheboygan County on Adoption Day last Tuesday, so I got the pleasure to do that in my own county. Doreen, as mentioned, was a prior recipient of this award, and also Judge Ken Takama. Both of those are prior presidents of our association, and I'm proud to follow them as the 3rd probate judge to receive this award. It goes not just to judges, but to other people who work with children and families. And I think it's a great award and a great honor for me to accept it here today. I want to congratulate the families that finalized their adoptions here today. In my courtroom, I always have this calendar on my bench, and for every adoption, I look at it and I read the words at the top. And this comes from the Michigan Adoption Resource Exchange. It says, every day, every month, every year, every kid deserves a family. And isn't that the truth? In forming the families as we have here today, and as we have all over the state of Michigan, not just on Adoption Day, but throughout the year, is the most heartwarming thing that a judge can do. I have finalized over 350 adoptions since I took the bench, and as indicated, a number of marriages as well. But when I mention those adoptions, I want to thank our other recipient who's going to be honored after me, Rama Krantz. She's one of those foster parents that step forward to give children a home. And a lot of those foster parents end up adopting children. And I did not do the math. Maybe I could have these young guys help me out, or young children. But the majority, I would say, of my adoptions are foster parent adoptions. They take children into their home, and they're told when they come into their home, you know, this is you provide them for a home until they can go back to their original home. And foster parents have to respect that, and they do. But after passage of time, every kid, as I said, deserves to have a family and a home, and that's exactly what happens. So thank you, and I know you have some of your foster children here today, behind you, to be with you here today. So I want to thank you and all the foster parents that have done the job, which is a difficult job, but so badly needed. And truthfully, a lot of times there's a shortage of those homes. So we really appreciate what they've done. Next, I obviously, Doreen thanked my wife, but I got to thank her as well. She wrote me a special note and said, your dream came true. And she's so right. My father was a probate judge, and it was always my dream to be one as well. And then she said in that note, your caring and concerned heart, worries and sleepless nights weren't for naught. And she's so right. Every decision I ever made, I really labored over. And when I was comfortable to make the decision, I would, but it was not easy. And as suggested by Chief Justice Markham, it's those neglect and abuse cases that are so difficult. She's many times had to be sitting at the dinner table, and I would be talking to myself, nodding my head, and when I should have been talking to her. Instead, I'm thinking about that case and arguing in my mind, what's the right decision? My children and grandchildren couldn't be here today because of the weather. Some of them are watching on the stream live, which is so nice to have. I really appreciate that. So I'll say hello to Nick and Kim and Brady and Macy, and also my daughter Michelle, Blake, and Bryce. My wife was adopted as a child, and then she adopted Nick and Michelle, and then at age 37 she adopted me. Thank you, Elaine. So our court, probate court, is a special court, and I'm so honored to be a part of that bench. It's a very special court. We don't do criminal proceedings. We do proceedings that a lot of times just involve people and not attorneys, and it's at the toughest time of their life. Child abuse and neglect, delinquency, and other related matters, not related to the family, of course, but it's death and guardianships and mentally ill and those types of things. But it's truly a family court, and the pleasure we get out of it are on days like this, and performing marriages, sometimes putting families back together, sometimes having a juvenile that's before your court, finally the light going on and they finally get it, and they turn their life around and actually thank the court or the worker for everything they've done for them, and we turn, which is why we do it. It's the court of second chances. And they get a second chance, and a lot of times we're successful in helping those children, helping the families be put back together. And when we can't, then sometimes it ends up in this type of a situation where another loving family steps forward and takes them into their home. My dad was mentioned. I want to thank him and my mother, my role models, obviously. My twin Roberta did drive down to be with me here today. And I want to thank the Supreme Court again, especially for supporting the many services that you support, providing for this event. But also, I've worked closely with many of your service agencies from the court, and they do such a wonderful job. I hope you, and I know you appreciate them. Child Welfare Services is the one I work with the most in the Court Improvement Program and Tribal Relations Committee. We do a lot of great things in that committee, and the Child Welfare Services are other committees as well. I work with Kelly Wagner, Casey Anbender, Kate McPherson, Elizabeth Henderson, and Darla Brandon. Make sure I make it there and gets me a good lunch, keeps me organized. I really appreciate working with them. We've done a lot of trainings together, and they've allowed me to participate in many things over the years, which I believe have helped families and children, not just in my county, but throughout the state. I also want to thank Noah Brodau, who moved to another service in the court, and Mary Beth Preston. I worked with them on that Child Welfare Services as well, and continue to have contact with them. And on that the Indian Tribal Relations Committee, as mentioned, we really made some real progress in the state of Michigan. Michigan is in the forefront in the entire country with regards to improving service to Indian families and children, and their children too. And it's so great that now the courts are giving them the extra protections and understanding the difference of tribal families and their values. And we're making real strides in improving services there, and the tribes themselves are working in conjunction with the state courts. We have a state, federal, and tribal forum that's been reinstituted by the Supreme Court, and I served on that for 6 years, improving relationships between the courts so that they can communicate with each other and work with each other again to help children and families. I also want to mention that an appreciation to retired Justice Mike Kavanaugh, Ali Maladano, who's a tribal judge up in Little Traverse and Petoskey, and Tim Connors. I worked with them on that Tribal Relations Committee and on the federal forum. I thank them for their support in allowing me to do the things I did on that very important forum. MJA, also I appreciate that service that the court has, and I've worked closely with Don McCarty, Heather. Some of these people jump around all the time, so I'm listing them where I first had contact. Heather Lyda, Kathy Weitzel, Corey Schmidt-Parker, Brady Moore, who's now retired, and Sarah Roth, I think has moved to a different place. Also appreciate the support I got from Doug Van Epps from the Office of Dispute Resolution, and he's very instrumental in what we've done in child protection mediation. We now have a training video that we can share with any county in the state that's interested in that type of mediation. I've had it in place for almost 18 years now in Sheboygan County, and it's a very important service that speeds reunification of families by getting jurisdiction and services in place, usually within the first 30 days of court contact, which is phenomenal. Because any delay of services or working with the parents or facilitating visitation lessens the chance that those parents will have the relationship they should have with their children. And so oftentimes the key to child protection mediation is not only getting jurisdiction, but let's start, if the children are removed, let's start the visitation and contact so we can work towards the children returning to the parents. I'd also like to thank Milt Mack, who's also a former president of our association. I'm so proud of our association and all it does. We often say amongst ourselves, we're the best court. And that's the way we feel. But any other court can say whatever they want. So he's now with us, SCAO. Also, Lynn Seeks has been very helpful to me, especially recently, obtaining an award for my probate register, who's retiring after over 32 years. I really appreciate what John Nevin and his staff is doing to publicize the good things that the courts are doing. Stacy Selleck, Barbara Brown I worked with in that public information, and Dawn Monks is another name that I've got to mention that I've worked with. And then Trial Court Services, Jennifer Warner, Robin Eagleson, Amy Grosh, and Jody Latusik I've worked with very much over the years. And then in the stats area and also in the technical area of court rules, Margie Bomer and Laura Hutzel have really done a lot for me and for the Probate Judges Association and all the courts in the state of Michigan. And all these little things and these services kind of mesh together and help the judges do their job, improve their service to the people, and of course today we're talking about improving service to children and families. I also want to thank Jerry Cole and Carrie Zangolis out of SCAO Region 4 office. Again, you know, we work together a lot, and anytime I have a question, just call. Jerry calls me right back, and I think all those court administrators that you allow to be out there in the field really help the service to the public and children and families as well. I appreciate the Michigan Probate Judges Association giving me the opportunity to volunteer to be involved in some of the things that I've been involved in. And I really think historically our association has moved legislation or changed legislation or blocked legislation that we felt was not good for children and families. And so I really appreciate being involved with the creation of some of the legislation such as juvenile competency and the Michigan Indian Family Preservation Act. That being said, appreciation to the higher-ups here, this is the highest it gets right here, and we appreciate as judges the support we get from the Supreme Court and all these service agencies. The most important thing to my court is locally. I'm only as good a judge as my staff and the people I work with. And I've been so lucky. They have made my job so easy. And I thank my staff past and present, especially Patty Hansen, who's my probate registrar. She actually co-nominated me for this award as well. I was very honored that Noreen Allen, a fellow judge, nominated me, and then Patty also nominated me as well. So I want to thank some of them I think are watching. I got Lucy, Becky, and Mariah in my upstairs court with Patty, and then my chief of the juvenile office, Kyle, Megan, and Cindy and Denise are in that office. Cindy and Denise are intensive probation officers. And I'd be remiss in not thanking some past employees. Mike Grolke was with the court for almost 30 years, Tony Schneider close to that, and then Ann Kuchar. All three employees were very valued to the court. And every one of my employees, I feel, epitomize what probate court is. Every person that comes through that door is giving caring service, understanding, and my staff gives everyone the time that they need to help them through whatever situation that they're going through, and sometimes those are very tough situations. So I'm going to thank all them. And then I also will finish before the buzzer thanking the Department of Health and Human Services. All the workers that I've worked with in that agency have been wonderful. I've never had a bad worker, and I'm honest with you, Mr. Lyon, that is the truth. We've had the best. And I've lost many of them to other agencies throughout the state, unfortunately, but they just keep sending me good ones, so I appreciate that. Child and Family Services is a very important agency in our area. We don't have as many service agencies as these bigger cities. North Country Community Mental Health always steps up for us. I want to thank especially Jennifer Morris Griffin. She's the director there. Not many mental health directors come to court, to a hearing, and sit in court and volunteer to give me testimony and evidence or support for the people they're serving. So I really respect that. And of course, Women's Resource Center is another one of our agencies, very important. The schools, obviously I can't name everybody there, but they come to court too. I have my assistant principals and sometimes teachers and support staff actually come to my hearings to tell me how my kids are doing. And I really sincerely appreciate that, because a judge can only make an informed decision if he or she is able to hear from everybody. And that's what I do. Anybody that's in the courtroom can tell me whatever they want. Sometimes I regret that, but most of the time it's very helpful information to me. I also, before I end, just want to thank we do have a program called Decisions to Action that works with kids and parents to improve their communication and improve the environment in the home. And Charlie and Tony Brown, he's a retired Detroit police officer, and his wife are so wonderful running that program for the court. And then I also have a court educational program that I appreciate. And community mediation service locally, Judy Doan and Annette Wells are just wonderful in their service to the court and helping us do those mediations in a timely manner. So I know I went on quite a ways there, but all these thoughts have been roiling around in my head ever since I knew I was getting this award. And I'm glad it's not till now that I'm probably going to cry. But I really appreciate it.